For the first time in what seems like ages, Congress has passed a government spending plan without resorting to bickering, midnight negotiations, or government shutdowns. So it looks like Mr. Obama will be celebrating over the holidays. Let's have a look.
On this vote, the yeas are 67 and the nays are 33. The motion is agreed to.
A dozen Republicans joined 53 Democrats and 2 independents to pass the bipartisan budget in a long-awaited budget compromise.
This bipartisan bill takes the first steps towards rebuilding our broken budget process.
The budget sets spending levels at just over $1 trillion until October of 2015 and rolls back some of the sharp spending cuts known as the sequester. But it does not extend long-term unemployment insurance, meaning 1.3 million people will be cut off from benefits on December 28th. Republicans complain the deal dials back cost of living increases for younger military retirees. The budget gap is filled in part with new taxes on airline tickets and more modest packages for new federal employees. In addition, the canceling of a Deepwater Resources research program saves $40 million, and rescinding funds available in the Strategic Petroleum Reserves brings a $3.2 billion savings. What is also not on the bill is a plan to increase the federal debt limit. An extension of the $16.7 trillion debt limit expires on February the 7th, and if it is not raised, the United States could run the risk of a debt default by the spring of 2014.
We continue our discussions about the very merry budget with Dee Dee Benke, Dr. McCoy, and Jackie Guzda. All right, so we are seeing the Republicans and the Democrats coming together. Is this going to continue through 2014? Dr. McCoy, we'll start with you.
You know, this whole discussion about the budget deal reminds me of my absolute favorite Shakespeare play, Much Ado About Nothing. I mean, we're making a big deal about these guys doing absolutely nothing. It's like they made a budget deal that made absolutely no hard decisions. Shows no, so to answer your actual question, no, I don't think it's a sign of anything because they didn't do anything impressive. What they all decided to do was, I want to go home for the holidays, let's not shut down the government, let's jump over the smallest bar possible and then pat ourselves on the back for it.
All right, I see some shaking heads from both sides of the aisles here. Dee Dee, you go.
That's true. There's a little more to it, though. There's a lot of politics going on here, and as a conservative, I hated this deal. It was so anemic, it was worthless. You're exactly right, nothing got done. And it's like, oh, well, let's we just all get along to go along. There's no fight. All this was to prevent the fight, but there's a reason. The Republicans have a strategy here because they want to keep the focus on Obamacare because right now it's just falling apart. So remember last time, Obamacare was rolling along. I mean, for us, it wasn't going well. And then we had the government shutdown. All of a sudden, we got burned. We were the bad guys. So they're like, hey, we're not doing that again. We are going to keep the focus squarely on Obamacare. So this is all politics.
I want to get back to Obamacare in a moment, but I want you to weigh in also, Jackie. You think this is much ado about nothing?
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you that this is a nothing budget. It is. It's like getting up Christmas morning. You're a kid. You expect to see big presents, and what you got is a lump of coal.
Well, I think the congressional leaders, I think on both sides of the aisle, needed to do something because they were all getting
but
slammed.
They didn't.
But they didn't.
But to the American public,
oh, yeah.
I mean, the headlines. If you do any kind of Google
But that's
search,
copping
whatever,
out, though. They didn't get the policy done. There's just politics.
But I'm saying, President praises congressional leaders. That is pretty much the headline on whether it's the Washington Post, whether it's USA Today, and you go down the list. So I'm just saying that they accomplished their goal of getting that headline.
And it just shows you how terrible the past few months have been. Agreed. I mean, the past few months have been Republicans shutting down the government and the Democrats bungling the rollout of health care. I mean, at this point, this was an agreement for the two of them, for two sides to say, let's go home for the holidays and lick our wounds because this has been a terrible year.
we're trying to get beat up.
And there's no sign that they'll do better next year because they've ducked the tough choices.
I'm actually very happy that we are all talking about this because I was surprised that none of the journalists picked up on this and wrote the headline that this was much ado, to take your statement, this was much ado about nothing. I'm surprised none of the journalists came out with that.
Total bailout. I'm wondering, it is weird that the journalists didn't come out, but they're probably so sick of this. I mean, over and over and over again, there's this do-nothing Congress, and maybe they're kind of laissez-faire at this point, too. They just want to have their vacation, be done with it, and that's sad as well.
I think that's absolutely right, and I think it also shows how closely, I mean, this has been written about, how closely the journalists and the politicians in Washington are tied together, to the point where the journalists are starting to think like the politicians. They're exhausted too. I think you're exactly right, Dee Dee. They're exhausted too, and they're almost like, you know what? We want to celebrate something. Even we as journalists want to celebrate something. Let's pretend this matters and celebrate.
Well, I don't
It was
know.
fake.
I'm not sure if I agree with that one. Jackie, what?
Right. You know, I read, and I don't think all the journalists uniformly
That's true.
took
Yeah,
that stance.
That's true. That's a good point.
But the majority.
The majority
headlines-
did, and on the bigger publications, the bigger news channels, etc. You know, the smaller ones is where you read those points of view that
Sure.
are different,
Yes.
like ours are today. You know, you have 3 different viewpoints here, but we all agree on it.
But this
But-
does
but-
help
but I'm
Obama,
still
I
saying-
think, more than anyone. So I will have to say, because the general press usually are more, especially the press corps, are more for Obama. So I think this helps the president more than it does Congress.
Don't you watch Fox News?
Well, yes.
I know. So on this
No,
one,
but a lot of people on Fox News, especially the conservatives, they hated it. They were complaining like crazy. I was.
Oh, the
I went-
budget.
oh, yeah, I
yes,
went there on air
specifically,
saying it's pathetic.
Let me ask you specifically, what didn't you like about it?
Nothing happened. I mean, no. In fact, it was worse. I mean, at least with, before, I mean, it was a little stricter actually. This time, I mean, we just, Murray and Ryan, I mean, they just copped out basically to get along, go along to get along, and nothing. We see, because for Republicans, we want major cuts. Heck, this was worse than what we had.
Well, the
Sequester.
president wasn't entirely happy. He did talk about the jobless claims that are, and he is unhappy that they're not extending the jobless claims. Do you think that they should be? There's about nearly 1.5 million Americans that will be affected.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the job market right now. You have people who were making quite a good living, who have families and mortgages, etc. And it's not as if they are not looking for jobs. You can't
They're not
find
going to look
a
if they're going to
job.
be able to be on for 99 weeks.
No.
It's too long.
If you are making, just throw out a number. If you're making $75,000 a year, you're not going to be happy in the state of New York of getting $405 a week. You cannot subsist on that. That getting $405 a week is not going to make me happy, and I can keep going on and on. I need to make a living wage.
Dee Dee?
No, we just have so many entitlements. It's so easy. It's so easy to not work. It's gotten too easy. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I think that definitely needs to stop.
No.
We need
It's
major
not
cuts.
easy to make $400 a week in New York City.
You
know
what?
that.
I just don't believe that you cannot get a job, and you've got 99 weeks to find a job. You can't get one. I'm sorry, unless you're disabled or unless you're, have all these problems.
I'm not disabled. I don't have a lot of problems. I was not allowed to go up for tenure in my full-time position
that's one job,
in
though.
2009, and I have been working part-time and temporary since that because I want to work.
Jackie, you could find a job in an hour. You're that capable. So
Would
I
you
don't
like
believe- I
to
don't buy
see
it.
over 100 applications for full-time
I can find
tenure
you a job
track
in an hour.
positions I put on? Okay, time's wasted.
No
Go.
problem.
All right, now we know that you both have differing viewpoints. I think that's been made very clear on Fresh Outlook. But what was funny is I'm sitting here on my perch. I'm watching Dr. McCoy here, listening to two ladies debate this out, and you're nodding your head to Jackie, and then you're nodding your head to, to Dee Dee.
Once we got into this exchange, though, once we got into this exchange, I was agreeing, whether I was showing or not, very strongly with what Jackie was saying. I don't know anybody in this economy, and I can literally say, I don't know anybody in this economy who lost their job and is not looking for another. Now, are there people who are comfortable living in a situation where they don't have to look for a job? They exist. But I do not know a person who went through this economy, lost their job, and isn't looking. I myself recently going through trying to find more permanent employment, thankfully got another job, but this has been a really tough economy, and that's why it's not just, it's not just clever to say much ado about nothing, it's serious. This is Congress's job, is to actually bring societal stability so that we can actually have a free market economy to provide jobs. And we spent a half year with both sides creating greater instability in the market when there are real people hurting. And the deal they came to essentially was those people who are depending on this small level of support are getting it cut out from under them, while these people can't even make up their minds.
And not only
and
that,
that's
there's
serious.
nothing in this budget that made for job creation, absolutely nothing. And infrastructure, there was nothing on that which would have created jobs or research and development.
Well, we're certainly going to have to wait and see what happens in 2014. The president obviously has called on Congress to come back and hopefully extend those jobless claims. I do want to talk about Obamacare because a lot of the Republicans are calling it a ripoff for young people. And that is one of the things, and even if you look at some of the social media, they are enlisting a lot of like top A celebrities and rappers and a whole bunch of musicians to come out and get young people signed up. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, because obviously a lot of young people don't have the health benefits. Now they're being told that they do. What are your thoughts about having some celebrities enlisted by to get onto Obamacare?
It's one of the standard marketing techniques, marketing and advertising, celebrity endorsements. They're trying to sell the health care, and those kids need the health care. They don't think that they're going to get cancer. They don't think they're going to wrap their car around a tree, but you know what? It happens, and I don't want us, the public, to absorb the cost of that aid.
All kinds of problems with this. One, Adam Levine, so-called sexiest man alive. For one, he's not. Second, because he said terrible things about women. And then you've got the nanny Fran Drescher, and you've got these people trying to promote. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to do anything just because a celebrity says. There may be a few people do that.
Oh,
I don't think so.
Well,
standard technique.
that is.
However, but let me make this point, which I'm amazed at this. Look, kids can stay on their health care, their parents' health care, till 26. So they're sort of, do you see what I'm saying? You're defeating the purpose, because why are they going to buy into it? Because they don't have to, because they're on their parents until they're 26.
Do you know what?
Plus, not only that, they're being told, hey, you are the young, strong, you're the ones going to be around a long time. You have to pay more to take care of the old people. You think they're going to want to do that? They're going to opt out.
So,
well, I'm just surprised, and this is from my point of view, that because it was the young people that really put President Obama into office, that they're doing this, that they're using this marketing tool to get young people enlisted into Obamacare.
So here's my question. So the celebrities who are endorsing Obamacare, can they tell me what Obamacare policy will be next week? Because I don't think the White House can. This has got to be. I feel like I want to sit here. I'm not sure if I should either apologize to Didi or thank her. And this is what I mean. Apologize because the Republicans were basically almost completely right about how incompetent the government's rolling this out. And then thank them for actually having the government shut down that at least distracted public attention for how bad this was going to be. I mean, it's just stunning. Week after week after week after week. And again, if Adam Levine can tell me what healthcare policy will be in a month, then I'll give him a pat on the back and I'll listen to what he says. No celebrity endorsement can figure out this policy that is just drowning in itself. And again, as I said before, it'd be funny if it's not serious. I mean, it's like we actually have a healthcare problem. A lot of people actually need affordable healthcare, and they've botched it so badly that I just can't imagine how this program is going to pull itself together.
I actually think that that's an interesting way of putting it. It's so bad, it's almost funny, but it really isn't. So we're going to take a quick break, everybody, so don't go away. You may have heard the news that Target is offering 10% discounts this week. The bad news is your identity may have been stolen. When we return, we will talk about the grand theft that could affect 40 million Americans.